Hello, my name is Alexander Lucard, and I am an HMIS System Administrator for Montgomery County. In today's training, we are going to look at the Release of Information tab, otherwise known as ROI, and how to fill it out correctly. One of the easiest things to forget to do with a client is to fill out the Release of Information tab. Unfortunately, it's something that every client needs to have filled out. If you are engaging with a client, at some point you're going to need to get an ROI in for your client. And you'll want to put it in the ROI tab in HMIS. Now, when we talk about filling out the Release of Information tab, this does not replace or suppress the policies and procedures that your specific agency has for doing release of information. This is basically a little addendum once you have filled out your release of information for your agency. So follow the same rules, policies, and procedures that you always have with your agency when it comes to getting a release of information. Then when you're done doing the release of information, you just come into HMIS and fill out this tiny little pop-up that just lets us know that the release of information is in. And that's all we're doing today. This is just a quick little reminder that once you've done the release of information and put it in your client's file, to also come into HMIS, into your service point, and then put the ROI there. So let's take a look. We're going to go to client point, and we're going to look up a client. Today, we're going to try and find Brody Lee. And again, as always, we only do 2 letters of the first name and last name to start in hopes that we find someone. Because we don't want to do too many letters, because what if his last name is actually L-I and not L-E-E? Things like that. We just want to try a few letters to start and go from there. And there he is. There's Brody Lee. Now, there are 2 ways to get to the release of information. The first is this tab here. We can click Release of Information and then click Add Release of Information. And the pop-up shows up that we need to fill out. The other option is to go here on the summary page, Release of Information here, Add ROI, and the same exact pop-up comes up. So you have 2 different ways to get to this pop-up. Whichever you want, totally cool. You'll find one-way flows better for you. Every person's different, but it doesn't matter. It takes you to the same place, and this is where you need to be. So let's fill out a release of information together. Now, first up is the provider. You're going to pick what provider is getting the release of information. Normally, when you log into HMIS, the first thing you do is go up to this right-hand corner, choose Enter Data As, and then pick the program you are going to currently be working at. Myself, I'm a system administrator, so I don't have EDA. My stuff overrides everything, but you would want to EDA and pick your program and then go do the ROI. If for whatever reason, the provider isn't showing up correctly, you can always change it here. Like let's do search. Let's do American. Oh, there we go, American COVID response. Let's pick that. And it doesn't matter what agency or what type of program you have. So if you're Interfaith, your Catholic Charities, your MCCH, and maybe you're doing rapid rehousing, maybe you're doing diversion, maybe you're doing street outreach, path, permanent supportive, it doesn't matter. You all filled out this tab the same exact way, and it's really, really quick. So as you see, we picked our provider, release granted, yes or no. While we're filling this out, so we want to say yes. And then the start date. The start date is the date that they agreed to fill out the ROI. So if today is 6/14 and the start date will always default to today's date, which is why this is pre-populated, and tomorrow it's going to default to 6/15 and so on. We want to put in the actual date that the release of information was signed. So let's say your agency got them to sign a piece of paper with the release of information on June 1st. You just go in and change the start date to June 1st. Now the end date. The end date is 1 year to the day. So we could do 6/1/2022. Technically, 1 year to the day could also be 5/31/20, or yeah, 5/31/2022, because that's exactly 365 days, and this is 365 days in 1 second. By the way, the clockwork system works here in HMIS, so it's okay if you want to do 5/31. If you want to do 6/1, it's not going to make a difference. But a release of information is exactly 1 year. Normally, we leave an end year blank if we're doing something like HUD verification, especially with income. We leave the end date blank because we don't know when the end is going to be. It's open-ended. But with release of information, we know when the end date is going to be. We know it's going to be exactly 1 year, so we can put in 1 year here, right? So for release of information, we can automatically put in the end date because we know it's going to be exactly 1 year from now. And then our documentation, we have none, other, signed statement from client, verbal consent, or verbal from other institution. Well, we just said that we have a signed one. We're just putting into HMIS. And again, the signed statement is the policy that your agency has. They sign that release of information that you have that's unique to your program. And then once you're done, you just fill out this quick little chart. And the witness is who saw the document being filled out, who saw the documentation being signed, so we know there's release of information. Now, 99% of the time, it's going to be you because you're the one that's putting it into HMIS. But let's say that the person who saw the signature doesn't have an HMIS account, or they do have an HMIS account and then something chaotic happened at their shelter and they didn't get to put it in and they don't work for a week and they leave you a text message or an email and say, hey, Alex, can you put it in for me? You're totally cool because this takes 30 seconds. Witness, we'd say something like that. But most of the time, almost all the time, it's going to be you, but there can be exceptions. Then we just hit save release of information and we're done. That's all there is to the ROI supplement in HMIS. Again, what you're doing is you're filling out your agency's specific release of information. And when that's done, you can just put it here and fill out the 30-second form. And then you would do this every year. Every year that a client is working with you, you're going to fill out this form. So for example, let's say June 1st, 2022 rolls around. Let's fill it out really quickly. Right? Yes. 14, 601, 2022, 0601, 2023. Another signed statement. It's me again. Let's get a capital letter in my name. Save release of information. Bam, you're done. Takes less than 30 seconds, and you just have to do it every year that a client is in your program, much like annual assessments. So we can see here that this client's been in the COVID response shelter for 2 years. Let's hope that doesn't happen in real life. But we can see 6/1, 21 to 22, 22 to 23. And that's all there is for release of information. It's really quick. You just have to remember to do it for your clients, and a lot of people forget. And that's why we're doing this training, to remind you to do it and to show you how. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you for joining me for this training. I hope it was informative, and I look forward to doing more trainings with you in the future. Thanks, and have a great day.